Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Living the Quran. Today I'll be talking about an important subject, which is guidance, taqwa, and the relationship between the two. And after that, we have an interesting story related to the subject. So stay tuned. Allah Azza wa Jal says in Surah Al-Baqarah, chapter 2, verse number 2, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابِ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابِ, that book, pointing to the Quran's high status. لا ريب فيه, free from doubt. هدى للمتقين, a source of guidance for the people of Taqwa. So what is guidance and what is Taqwa? Taqwa is adhering to Allah's commands and restraining from sins. Now you might find different definitions with the earlier scholars, but they all boil down to the same meaning, whether even if the wording is different, but the general meaning is the same. And guidance in the verse refers to a general meaning which includes proper understanding of the Quran, acting on that knowledge, i.e. the understanding of the Quran, and number 3, staying steadfast on the straight path. Now, proper understanding of the Quran, I mentioned the word proper because understanding of the Quran might differ from one scholar to another or from one person to the other, and you have different people having different opinions. But the proper understanding, that is a gift, a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And acting on that knowledge is also a blessing. To actually act on that knowledge, on that understanding of the Quran. We see many people who memorize many verses and understand the meaning, yet they don't act on that knowledge, making that understanding and that knowledge in reality a curse on them instead of being a blessing. And number 3, staying steadfast on the straight path. Now this is very important. Staying steadfast on the straight path, Shaykh Islam bin Taymiyyah mentioned that this is one of the biggest blessings, if it wasn't the greatest of them all, is staying on the straight path, staying on the sirat al-mustaqim until you reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what is the relationship between taqwa and guidance? How are the two related? The verse states that the Quran is a source of guidance to the people of taqwa. So their taqwa caused them to benefit from the Quran. And the higher the taqwa, the more you will benefit from the Quran. And number 3, taqwa leads to guidance, and guidance then leads to even more taqwa. So how does this work? Well, when you have taqwa to start with, and which is doing acts of worship and restraining from sins, this, depending on your level, will lead you to more guidance. And then guidance then leads to even more taqwa, because after you're guided, you'll be doing more acts of worship and restraining more from sins, which will then in turn lead you to more taqwa. Today's story is about Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. He'd look for a single verse, over 100 different tafsirs. He'd then ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to teach him, saying, Ya mu'allim Adam, allimni. Ya mu'allim Ibrahim, allimni. O teacher of Adam, teach me. O teacher of Ibrahim, teach me. And then he'd go to an abandoned mosque and pray and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to unlock his heart, saying, Allahumma fahimni, teach me, give me the proper understanding. And the result of all that, you might ask, look at his books. You'd keep turning page after page, page after page, and he'd still be talking about the same verse, extracting huge amounts of knowledge from a verse of 5 or 6 words. So what do you get from all this? The key to guidance is taqwa. The more taqwa that you have, the more acts of worship you do, the more sins that you leave, inshallah, the higher the level of guidance. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى صحبه وسلم.